Okay, so this is a little bit of a different format. We're doing something more of like a round table. So please don't feel bad about sitting behind us because we're not really speakers here. It's a conversation. The reason why we're doing this is in part because these topics that we're talking about kind of involve all of you guys as well, and what your position is in the NFT space, and we want to be able to have open questions. We have a list of sort of topics that we think are the kind of topics that everybody wants to talk about, but we're also very open to any other questions. And we don't have necessarily the answers, but we'll try to all talk about it and figure out what we know collectively. So quickly, my name is Alex Chetvertinsky. I am the co-founder of Parallel. So Parallel has been organizing these talks, and so very happy to have all of you guys here to do this final roundtable.
And my name is Inter Gloerig, and yeah, I'll be kind of co-hosting this roundtable. I'm here because basically I do a PhD on blockchain imaginaries. So I really look into not so much exactly what the technology does, but the kind of ideologies and worldviews that are often associated with it, and where it historically came from, but also as it progresses, with, for example, NFTs, what kind of new ideas for future potential, what kind of world societies it could bring into being that are associated with this technology. So that's my interest in this space. And yeah, I think should we just start from
with this question that was left unanswered.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really strategic move to cut it off so we can start again right now.
I don't even remember my question. I think I was more like sharing some thoughts on and experiences on Tezos of collectors, how they are, what they are trying and what they are doing. And, I'm talking, of course, about people who are collecting art, which is a different approach from people who are doing collecting collectibles. But I see there are a bunch of people who are really thinking of helping the artist. And somebody said yesterday that the collectors, it's not about collecting the piece, but it's about supporting artists. And this is really, I see it generally. There's a lot of also fake goodwill, but there's, and I see from some private groups that we discuss some real goodwill of, oh, I'm buying from this artist not because I like this piece, but because I'm supporting that artist, and in general. So they try to, that collector tries to buy everything, and as I mentioned, the collectors who are trying to buy big editions, making it smaller, because that's also something new, that you can burn tokens. And at first, as an artist, I was shocked by the idea of burning tokens. And then I understood that it's something peculiar and particular, and that can be helpful for the artist. Also, the idea of flipping can be good for the artist, raising the floor, the whole secondary market happening so fast. A lot of things that are very, I think, specific for the NFT world, and that are making the collectors act in different ways and try to experiment with their roles also, and which is a kind of a multi-role. And the other thing I'm seeing is people that I mentioned is people who are absolutely not from the art world or the crypto world, which is just people from, different backgrounds, who were just art lovers, never had the money to be collectors, and now they have. And those people are the people I would love to see more in the space. People who love art and cannot buy it, and now they could be collectors. And I had an exhibition here in Brussels, physical, at the Villa Emprunt, And I thought, okay, now I'm going to use this opportunity to have also a virtual exhibition and put the virtual exhibition also inside the exhibition so people could see both at the same time and realize what it could be, what NFT could be or is. And still they couldn't understand. It's amazing. There was the computer there. I had even an assistant. My 7-year-old son was my assistant. He was teaching people how to walk in this virtual world. And still, people, most of them, there was a very definite line. People up to 20, they would go directly to the computer, and after 20, they wouldn't even look at it. And almost the people who went to it didn't even look at the exhibition, just at the computer. So it's like this, how to make this bridge, you know? Maybe because I was independent artist doing something. Yeah, I think that's where I think we need institutions doing this bridge, doing these physical exhibitions that really have a lot of mediation. It needs a lot of mediation, I think, to reach normal people.
Yeah, so is that also, like, do people need to understand NFTs, do you think? Is this, like, in a way, like, there's a lot of talk about, like, lowering threshold, like you say, like, people that never could be collectors now can be. But then there is the technology, which is, again, kind of putting up this threshold. And I'm wondering, like, where is the responsibility there for either making the technology so that it is not so complex, or making ways of explaining it or educating people? Yeah, how is this going to progress? I don't know, not for you. Anyone can, of course, jump in.
Yeah, I mean, we did some experiments, and yes, it is very complicated. But I think it's just to get the first step. So as soon as somebody collects one NFT, they understand. There is a thing, as soon as you buy one, you understand, as you, or two or three. Like what I did with Nico, I sent him 2 Tezos, and then he started to collect. Or I did the same thing with Dominique. Is Dominique here? No, with Dominique Moulon. I sent him 10 Tezos, and he started to buy. And then he understood exactly. And you get caught in this idea of collecting NFT very quickly on the thing. And it's more, but it's difficult to get people. I mean, except if you want to send a lot of money around for people to learn to connect. But there is this thing of you understand if you practice it.
We have an NFT that we're selling at Brussels at the booth, and what we decided is that we needed to make this as easy as possible. People need to buy it on their mobile phone, and so we were like, okay, can't be in crypto because 99.9% of the people coming to this fair will not have crypto. And so basically we calculated that every transaction that we did, even though we were there with the person, took about 20 minutes. Because first you have to register, then you have to get an email that confirms you, then you have to get a wallet that's like a non-custodial wallet, then you have to transfer your asset to MetaMask, but then you also have to be on Polygon, so you have to transfer your MetaMask to Polygon, then you have to go and, I mean, it's like every step of the way feels like you're dealing with web development in the 90s. Like it's so, you know, it's like Web 3 is the most advanced version of the web that's also the most retarded version of the web. It's like and I think what's exciting about it in a sense is like everybody seems to be developing in their corner, and so at some point all these forces will join, but the big question about that is that will they join in a way that will create more centralization? And will we start getting platforms that will make it really easy for people to just go and buy and collect? Or will we still keep the idea of decentralization just with better UX, you know, which is obviously the most desired outcome, but I'm not convinced that that's exactly where we're going, so, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking also that we talk a lot about NFT, and there's NFT on the technical level, and there's also NFT as a market niche, or as a niche to get attention. And also going back to this thing about how it has been so difficult for digital artists to get the attention of the contemporary art world. So it's like now we have this speaker series within ArtBrussels because NFTs is being talked about, okay? And so I think it kind of also relates to net art in the 90s, with people developing what can be done with NFTs also from this technical side, what can be done with smart contracts, etc. And people doing NFTs because NFTs are being talked about right now. So it's like the thing you have to do, you know? And that kind of veers in different direction and makes it more complex to talk about NFTs, you know? So yeah, so I think one of the first things to think about or to educate people is telling them like these two layers, or that NFT is a way to have this kind of certificate of authenticity. There's all these other things that can be done with smart contracts also to work with that. But then, for instance, in my view, I think it's sometimes sold as it is a new art movement or a new art kind of art form, which I personally don't think it is, you know. But I think that kind of muddles a bit the conversation.
I would, sorry. One little thing about this accessibility and the role of institutions, because if I look around me in my communities, but also group of friends, how it usually goes is that a friend tells you, hey, did you hear about this NFT thing, and shows you a little bit, and maybe you try together. There is a huge community online. You talk about it with your friends. And that is also an added value of the NFT, this community, this talking about it, this with people around you, but also online. So maybe this getting into the NFTs, that maybe it's not there, the role of the institutions. Maybe the role of the institution, which is by definition a centralized place usually, it's somewhere else. And we were talking before about that NFT usually focus more on the economic and not on the transaction part. Maybe the role of the institution is more on, okay, what is the other value, the story behind it, the more art part, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also a narrative that's commonly used in the NFT space, which is basically the idea that we're breaking away from exploitation, right? So that artists mostly digital artists have been exploited by Web 2 platforms like Instagram and Facebook, and that essentially these artists are putting their work on these platforms, and that they're basically doing it like for exposure, and that maybe they'll get a job or a commission because the work is on Instagram, and then essentially Instagram sort of kind of owns it, and they can do whatever they want with these images, and that in a sense Web3 is like the way to break out of this. But I think that in a sense the problem with that approach is that people are still using Instagram to promote their NFTs, and no? Well, and it doesn't matter. It's still, I mean, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, no, that's right. I mean, maybe some bots will respond, but I think in a sense, like to go back to what you were saying also, Pau, is that I think there is this idea that there are NFTs as I create a beautiful piece of art and I post it online and I make an NFT out of it. But then there's also this whole other idea of messing with smart contracts and with the blockchain. And I think if there is a new form of art that is emerging, it's more that than putting like something that you could have sold as a print. If you can't sell it as a print, if you can't sell it in any other format than a blockchain-based art, like a Sarah Friend project, for example, then it is a new form of art. I mean, one way or another.
I mean, sorry, to come back to that, it's exactly like with net art. There are people who are actually working with the possibilities of doing things online, and people who are just taking their art to the web, because that was what we were talking about. And that reminds me, like, I remember before this NFT boom, artists that were interested in the blockchain were discussing what was happening in the blockchain. They were discussing that mining, they were creating their own coins, and doing this kind of experiments and reflections on the whole structure. But then it's like all that disappeared, and it was replaced by this layer of selling images on marketplaces, no? Which I think it's quite interesting that, of course, it happened because of this people selling and all that happened afterwards, no? But it's kind of an interesting move.
I think also that there was kind of a dip in that, but then you see also that people like Sarah Friend or I thought Terra Zero was came up before. Yeah, exactly. They transformed their kind of general blockchain art, is my way of referring to that kind of thing, that they're kind of reflecting on the technology. And it, I think, yeah, that's the kind of art that I generally find very interesting. And yeah, I was, yeah, I was sad for a while that I didn't really see it, but now I see more of it coming up. So I think that's really what we need, to have these critical reflections from the art world on the technology that now is so central in it, and not just using it as a way to transact. And I think that's really where an opportunity lies to make like good NFT art, let's say. Yeah.
But would that mean that every artist in the blockchain to be validated would have to deal with those questions? I mean, I do think that the blockchain, it has this, like the blockchain art. It brings this new type of art, but also it is a new type of market for a lot of even traditional artists who make paintings. And yeah, I know some that are for the first time, she's 65, and for the first time she's making a living with her paintings. And I think that's also amazing. I mean, I think there was a lot of things that were wrong with the art market, and that the NFT has a lot of problems, but it could have a few solutions as well. I mean, it is completely different the way it works. So, yeah, I think, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's easy to talk negatively about people that just sell NFTs, but I know a lot of people, friends, artists, myself included. I've been like ignored like 30 years from the art world because I was doing digital work and they were not interested. It's the first time in my life that I can earn money with my
I'm not
artist. Yeah, but I'm not again. It's a general idea that because often people come to, you're just selling NFTs. It's not interesting enough. You need to dig down deeper and you have to be critical and this and that. But that's also good. But I think a lot of people are really very happy that for the first time they can sell something and they can earn money and they are not dependent on galleries or curators or other people that have that kind of influence that yes, it's very hard for some people to get in the art world if you don't have the right connections. And
Can I?
How did you find your audience?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
just by being because I have friends artists, we do things together, because I try to connect with people online, of course now on Twitter mostly, and I try to talk to people about art, about what I make. I try to look at what other people do, and there's a whole conversation that's possible now without gatekeepers that before were just there, and I was unable to get through them. And I think I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people that are in that position. And for me, the most interesting part when I look at the NFT thing is just that a lot of people are now for the first time able to come out and present what they make. And maybe it's bad, maybe it's good, I don't care. The fact that there is these little doors that they can try and present their work, I think it's fine. And yesterday and today, sometimes I feel a little bit the old art world gatekeeping popping up also in that NFT space, and I get allergic. It's I understand, and it's about everybody has a career to do, and I know for curator it's also a hard life. It's the same thing. I'm pretty sure a lot of curators now that were not able to make their career in the old art world, now there are opportunities to also make a career. It's the same thing. And for me, that's the whole positive energy that I see with the NFT world. And I'm also very conscious that there are a lot of things that go a little bit bad and are a little bit...
But let me just ask you something as an artist, because this is something that's kind of shocked me when I discovered NFTs the first time, is I saw a few artists that I followed and that I appreciated, and I see their work being presented on a platform, and I see it's like a grid, and then there's like this guy whose work is amazing next to a guy who's showing a picture of his chest, you know, and then another guy who's doing like a doodle that looks like, you know, a kid's drawing. And to me, the problem there was just that everybody loses. Even the guy whose work is great, you look at it in the context of how it's presented, it's not great anymore because it just looks like it's part of this mess, you know, this pile of stuff.
Yeah, but I never had the luxury of being, as an artist, to be in a space where only art was there. And for me, it's live. It's like I make my art, and next to me is another guy who is making collectibles or something else. And it's I'm not shocked by it. It's how it is. And I think maybe the art world has to accept that other people enter and they have different views on what is art. And yeah, I don't know. For me, it's amazing to see all these changes and
I'd love to get a Sam or Trent's point of view on that.
I came over for it. I mean, I'm like pretty much 100% in support of most of what you're saying. I think one of the things is, why did we develop the gatekeepers in the first place? Is I think an important question to ask, and like, why are we now talking about gatekeepers coming into like this space? I think it is a function of needing, like, people in general needing, you know, cultural shelling points, or like ways of getting kind of social consensus around what is culturally significant, or, you know, artistically accomplished, or any of these things, right? And so that's not to say that the current structures are particularly good at doing that. I think one of the really interesting things about what we're seeing in the crypto space is there are new mechanisms to develop social consensus around different things. So, you know, one of the things that in the Ethereum ecosystem gets kind of some flack is like the idea of the shared contract, where everybody is kind of like minting on this one contract, and you lose some of the provenance associated with like, oh, it's really from this address, and there's this idea that, you know, all artists should be minting on their own contracts to establish that provenance, which of course, you know, increases the costs on top of, you know, how much work they have to be doing in various other ways. But the shared contract also actually, you know, presents this opportunity for like an artist collective to form, in which the people minting are kind of like all sharing directly in the profits of the work that they are all establishing together. They're also all then participating in helping promote and share each other's work, and really forming that community. Which is just to say that I think curation can take a number of different forms, but it does feel like at some point, like as Alex is saying, it is helpful to give some sort of context-specific information, and just in terms of like being able to process what one is seeing. Sometimes on scrolling through Hen, it can be such a like kind of mentally cacophonous experience, and I think it's only going to be harder to find an audience and generate a community unless we actually start to think about the structures that are able to do that beyond just like posting your stuff to Twitter and hanging out in a Discord.
Yeah, only I think
I think also when we take a step back, what you said about social consensus sometimes also changes in hindsight. I think this will be highly self-regulating. Also in the art world, we think we are the gatekeepers, but what will survive of today's art world in 100 years from now is open to history. So there might be also a chance that the same thing happens in the NFT world. What will become cultural heritage will not be something that we trying to do regulation now will even get done as much as we don't get it done in the physical world, although it's maybe better established.
I also think that nobody these days goes to art fair to be culturally feeded. It's not, you don't go fed. Huh? So you don't go to these platforms to have the story, to have yet. I think it's just a matter of time that we get the equals of musea or galleries or other cultural institutions. It's just a matter of time that we get the equals on the NFT space of galleries, musea, and other non-profit or organizations that bring you a story, that bring you something else than just an art fair, because now it's all art fair that you see online. It's just like coming into space and you see sell, buy, and there's not a lot of story to it. You don't get fed.
But do you think, I think you're also kind of referring to the influencers in the space that are kind of acting as curators now. Am I correct, or? Yes,
but it's not yet as deep as it should be, as I would like it to be. If I see an NFT, yeah. I want to know more about the artist. I want to see other stuff, non-NFT stuff. I want to go deeper, and this is really lacking for the moment.
And I think an important kind of difference between these two is that there's such a direct commercial interest right now in the kind of curation that happens, or in the like which NFTs are known and get sold and are in the public eye. That's really directly linked to like commercial interests. And what you're saying, like those institutions that we know from like the traditional art world, they do have some, even if there are very many critiques to make of that kind of hierarchy there is a kind of non-profit element there that I'm really curious how we can get the good that had into this space as well, because it's so heavily like there is no, like we also mentioned before, like there is no talking about NFTs without the price. But how can we start to talk about NFTs outside of that?
But it's also a responsibility of the artist itself. If we go into every show in the traditional space and in the NFT space, why not mingle them? Why not hybridize them and don't make a difference? They're just your artwork, and bring them together.
Yeah, I was on a panel a few weeks ago where there was an artist. It was also about NFTs, and he was like, "Can we please talk about the art? Because everyone's talking about NFTs, but what's really, as an artist, I think you want to talk about what you make rather than where you sell it.
Yes, I would ask about the commercial thing about the NFT. I would say I'm not interested by making non-profit. Well, like he said, for the first time, an artist can make money of his digital work. So I'm interested, in fact, by how to make money finally with your digital work. So, and my question would be very basic, because I know nothing about NFT. That's why I'm here for the moment, to know more about it. So a very practical consideration: what would be the best platform to work with, to put your artwork, well, not to put your artwork, but to generate your NFT, and that it's commercially good spread. I don't know.
So you want to make money? No, but I mean, we're all there. I mean, I joined the NFT. I joined the NFT to make money because of COVID. I need money because I didn't exhibit. After, I mean, I don't know. I only know Tezos, and the advantage of the platform on Tezos, I'm going to do the advertising as usual, is that it doesn't cost you anything to mint. I mean, it costs you 10 cents or something like that. Contrary to Ethereum, where you have to pay $50 to $200, but there are other systems where you pay after the sale. So, as a newcomer, it's better to go on Tezos or the other chain like Solana and things like that. Now, on Tezos, you have a lot of artists who are more experimental and things like that. So you can go on this platform. There are different ones. If you do a search on Tezos NFT on Twitter, you'll find a full community. And after, the thing is to find other artists that you like, and you collect or you exchange messages with them, or you like their work, and then you build your community like that, and you start to exist.
Yeah. I just wanted to rewind a little bit to what you were saying about gatekeeping, the need for, or the lack of need for, and specifically what you said about curators and other cultural workers being able to work in this industry in ways they weren't before, which maybe I'm going to be a controversialist and say that maybe there's almost too much of an emphasis on artists in the conversation around NFTs. It's fantastic that artists are able to sell their work, make money from their practice, are able to find new audiences, but the conversation always excludes curators, writers, conservators, all these people who play really valuable and essential roles in an art ecosystem. And I think that one of the total failures of the industry to date has really been that it has not provided a way for those individuals to find, sources of income or jobs. And of course, like, I am somebody who has, and I'm very lucky to have, but there are really very, very few people who've been able to in the same way. And I think that we've developed all of these fantastic systems for artists, but we should also be thinking more about how we can do so for other cultural workers that aren't just, oh, well, why don't you mint your essay as an NFT and sell it or something? Because that's just not how. What? How do you mean, who's stopping you? Of course you can. Of course I can go and I can write and I can publish it on my blog, or I can do whatever I want. I can organize an exhibition or the. Yeah, of course you can, but people aren't going to buy it. People don't buy it. Why? But they don't buy it because cultural work is not valued in the same way within this space, right? So people want they want to invest in art, but they don't bestow the same value on other pieces of cultural work, and therefore they don't see it as worth buying.
The problem is not there. The problem is that we emphasize too much on the artist as a commercial entity, as somebody who wants to make money. There's There's more to an artist than just making money. There's telling a story, being political, being metaphysical, being a curator, half a curator, being a writer. All these things artists are. So I don't see a difference between a cultural worker and an artist. They both can be a valuable thing into the NFT space. They just have to open the market not only to people who want to make money and sell their work. It's more than that.
No, I totally agree, and I've just recently started to say that my work is research based. Yes. I've never done that before, but I think this is also 100% agree with you that it's not a two-dimensional role for anyone within the cultural workforce. But majority of the industry don't necessarily understand that complexity and see it as a very two-dimensional role for the artist, and also doesn't acknowledge the complexity of all of the other roles that we have as well.
Yeah, and it is scaring to me also to have this really, like, the valuation of art and everything that is around art and making meaning of like between artworks and artists and you know, understanding trends and all that kind of stuff that comes with the art, to put that to the free market, essentially. I understand that I keep saying things that are kind of can be interpreted as against making money, but that's not what I'm here to say. I think everyone, like, the arts are fundamental and very important, and we, like, artists deserve to make a living, and I think if you can do that with NFTs, that's, you know, good. But there are kind of more bigger socio-political trends connected to that I think, yeah, we need to at least talk about in order to be smart in how to deal with that. So if we say, like, okay, everyone that is around the arts should just put their essays and everything as an NFT and try to sell it, I think that's producing a very limited view of what art is and what it can be, I would say.
But maybe this is also a controversial thing to say, but is it because somebody creates art that it has to be good, and or that it has to be sellable? Like, I mean, you know, there's a lot of people who create art that probably shouldn't be creating art, you know, and I mean, but what I mean by that is that it's like anybody has to develop, you know, there has to be a voice that has to come out, there has to be a meaning that has to develop, and, you know, of course, there are all kinds of different arts. There are arts that are, you know, at all different levels, but I just think that there's a fallacy that has been created in the marketing language that was put out when NFTs became a thing, which was that all of a sudden artists need to be the center of the world. Like, everybody needs to focus on the artist, a little bit like what you were saying. And it's almost like artists became the marketing fodder for platforms that started making millions of dollars, you know. And in essence, it was like, if you are an artist, then you are extremely important and everything you do has value. And I think that that's not necessarily true. And it's a question, it's a societal question that nobody has an answer to, but it's something that has been tricky for since art exists, you know, like filtering artists. And of course that has been done by gatekeepers in ways that, I mean, you know, everybody knows why Marcel Duchamp made the urinal, because he was not accepted in an art fair that he wanted to get into, and he started, you know, showing the finger to the art world and decided that that's how he needed to create what he did. But I just think that there's a little bit of like this kind of overhyping of the value of the artist that is, in fact, has nothing to do with art, but it has to do with the marketing mechanisms of the crypto industry, in a sense.
Yeah, I think you're right, but it's even worse than that. I think in some of the NFT space, the artist is a product, more than even the center. It is, and it is. They all talk about branding and things like that for artists and things. But it's very nice to have those conversations. But again, what we have to remember is because we are at the beginning, we can influence things. So it's good to have conversations like that. But if you have some ideas, you can put them in practice. It's not very expensive to do Web.3 sites. It's just, you know, you have some ideas, implement them, and just influence the world. It's just.
But I'm curious. I just want to go back to what you were saying, because I think, Sam, you were the one who were mentioning this in the panel. Is that if you are going to be an artist who's going to make money off of your NFTs, how do you manage to balance this sort of multitasking of creating the arts, promoting the arts, pricing the arts, dealing with collectors and all that stuff? Like, is it too much work, or is it highly manageable?
No, there were no art critics that wanted to write something about what I made. There were no galleries that wanted to invest in me. There was nobody who wanted to do something with me. So I'm like, for years, I'm used to do everything on my own. So, but I agree that for some people, it's. I said to a friend yesterday that he asked me, "Yeah, can you do some NFTs for me, and I will pay you?" And then and I said, "No, I won't do that, because it's." He didn't realize how much work it is to be online, present your work, talk about your work, and really, I don't like to when I like to be able to have money for what I make. I want, first of all, to have people look at what I make and talk about that. And but like I said, the money that comes in now, it's fantastic. And I'm sorry, but the landlord, he doesn't care about artistic or critical or whatever, or art here or art there. He just wants to see money. And so that's why, as an artist, I need to earn money. And for years, I have invented all kinds of ways to combine my artistic activities with earning money. And like I said, now it's the first time that maybe I could finally be a full-time artist. It's not the case for the moment. I still have another job to have money, but and that's kind of a luxury I see, because I see a lot of naivety also in the NFT world. Young people that think that they will be able to quit their job after some sales, which is ridiculous. For some it worked, but for most of the artists it won't work. But yeah, I will see how it goes. But I like I said, I have I have to do everything, and it's sometimes I would really love other people to do some stuff for me, but until that happens, I will go on, and the NFT space is a space where I have a feeling that it goes so far that I can earn money with it, which before it was not the case. I was just in a kind. I could participate at some exhibitions sometimes. I could present I have a website since 25 years, but who visits websites? And so I imagined, I stayed alive by the illusion that people will visit sometime my pages. And now suddenly you
I want to ask just, I don't know what exactly, I'm trying to follow it from a distance, and in order to be able to conceptualize everything, I'm looking for a small metaphor. And how many artists manufacture their own paint? How many artists that start manufacturing their own paint become paint manufacturers? And historically, which artists that made their own paint stood the test of time? As a simple metaphor.
Sorry, I would just like to build upon the money things, because during the last talk we said that the art world was not really about that, and I'm not really sure that it's not about that. I think that it's more about rituals and what are the rituals that have been constructed upon it, and I think that an event like ArtBrussels or La FIAC or Basel or any one of these is basically about the market of art. I mean, it's about money. It's mainly only about that. It's just that the ritual is different. I mean, like someone said during the panel, the price is not seen. And what is, I think, one of the threat that is seen by the traditional art actors is that the NFTs are just like putting out these rituals and just putting everything in a naked state. And I think this is something that's never really, and I think it's the same way the financial world didn't like the cryptocurrencies, because it's the same thing. I mean, it gives democracy to the financial tools that were only open to a really small peoples. So basically, I think it's more about these questions about what were the rituals, what are the new rituals, and how to translate this one into the new ones, and how to bring people into these new languages. About the cultural workforce, I think that one of the main pain point that we see here is that basically what we are experimenting all together now in the NFT field is that we are basically using smart contracts that have been developed by the platforms that are here for the beginnings. I mean, OpenSea, NFT Gateway, and all these ones. And these platforms, as again someone just said very intelligently and cleverly in the last talk, they were meant for the platform to be the winner and not for the cultural workforce. So maybe I think one of the keys is to develop new smart contracts that would incorporate the different cultural workforce that are working together, and you can just activate the options. I mean, if one artist wants to work with a curator that is going to develop a discourses, develop a way of presenting his work, he just add these kind of new things in the smart contract, and the wallet of the cultural workforce, might it be a curator or an agent or anything like that, can just get some kind of percentage on it. And I think this is one of the key that we have to understand now. It's the way the smart contracts are forged and how we can implement technology in our practices of NFTs, selling, buying, collecting. I think this is one of the things. And the two other actors that you didn't mention, Sam, I think, earlier, were the collectors and the gallerists. And they are I think, the traditional art market collectors and gallerists, which are the people who are the most afraid of all these things, I think. And I'm not certain that there are a lot of them here together with us. So
there are about 10 galleries at Art Brussels who are showing NFTs.
On how many?
Out of 157. And you also have to remember that galleries are often focused on a certain type of work. So for example, if they're focused on, I don't know, sculptural work, it's very rare that there will be an interesting NFT project coming from a sculptor, So I don't think it's necessarily, I agree that galleries are somewhat concerned, but it's also that it doesn't necessarily mean that much to them, And we've been at the fair every day since it opened, answering people's questions. And one of the things that we realize is that NFTs are just not for everybody. Like for some people, this will never touch their reality. It doesn't have to, they're already involved in enough things that are meaningful for them. They don't need this extra layer of complexity to come and be part of it. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people who will benefit from it and who don't know it yet. So it's all about this kind of filtering and onboarding process that has to happen to grow the community in the right way. But I think it's, not everything is just that the gatekeepers are bad and that the artists are the heroes that need to be brought out, which is, I know it's not what you're saying, but it is a narrative that you hear a lot in the crypto space.
But just if I may add something, sorry. These were probably the same that didn't want a website before 2010. And what I mean there is what we heard with Arteia is that you can add the blockchain processes which were just NFT based with any kind of physical art pieces. And I think this is going to be, this is the present, it's not even the future.
I just wanted to say I wouldn't dismiss anything that he was saying because I think it's quite important. And I think a lot of people, even people in the art world, fantasizes about the work of an artist. From all the artists I know, and I know mainly the successful artists, I would say maybe 0.5% have help from galleries, from their own galleries. Most of my friends have galleries, but the galleries don't really help them at all. So I would say for myself, I've done solo exhibitions, I've done exhibitions all over the world, but my ear is mostly, the majority of my time is producing, is writing for grants. It's a lot of work. A lot of work. So when you say, yes, so in the crypto space, a lot of work to get promotion, to get, it's a fraction of the work that I used to have. Also a fraction of the money also, I have to say. So it's not sustainable. But I've sold much more in 3 months that I've sold my whole life. I've had a lot of more connections, much faster. And the works can be smaller. I mean, my works, they usually take months to get produced, or maybe a year. And here you can make, I can have a daily practice of making GIFs, for example, and and it's not nothing. There's a lot of thought behind. There's a lot of meaning for me. It's months of research that went into that, but to do my solo show, and then also I can do something more light for the NFT space and make money out of it. And yes, it's a lot of work, and we are starting to discuss a lot between us artists in the space that we need curation. I don't say we don't need, I think we need. I'm also a creator, so we need curation. But what form, I think there's a lot of discussion of how this is not going to be the same type of curation. And in my life, I spend time raising grant to pay the critic who's going to write a text for me, because I think it's important. All these works are important. And it's not easy for them either. I mean, most independent creators, they also struggle. And I help them in this fight. Usually, right now, for the past 2 years, I've been working with an independent creator to do my solo shows, and she's fighting with me. And we are writing grants together, and it's months of work. It's the majority of our time. Sometimes I say I'm not an artist, I'm a grant writer. I mean, I'm a project writer. And so maybe it's not that complicated, but what's happening is that it's saturating of artists. So especially who's getting now into the NFT space is getting more and more hard to get visibility. So yes, we're gonna need spaces of curation that can filter and put us in context and tell the narratives and talk about the works and make relations between the works, between the artists. We need that. Yes, of course, I'm not saying that we don't, but we have to look at what this space is doing for all the artists that have been ignored their whole lives, And I'm not even one of the ignored ones, but I'm really, really finding that it's very refreshing to be able to show and discuss and be bought and appreciated right away, because being bought is also a way of feeling validated. Somebody is appreciating what you did enough to buy you. So it's the purchase is also that. It's not just money, but for an artist, that's really, it's much better than the like of Instagram. It's the like plus money in your pocket.
Yeah.
So,
but I think you kind of got to what I wanted to say in the end, because I was really thinking, like, who haven't we talked about yet? It's the audience, and I'm not a collector. I'm not an artist. I really need curation. If I go to one of those marketplaces, I don't know where to look. I need someone to help me and to guide me and to give me pointers. And I think that's also something not to forget. Art is also made to, invoke something in people, to invoke emotions or wonder or whatever. And yeah, that's part of the conversation that I think needs to be had, and I think definitely that can be in different forms and new forms, but it is, yeah. I just think it's an essential. We shouldn't forget about that element of the story. I think because art exists in the world and it gets meaning in the world, yeah, beyond the artist.
Yeah, if I may, I would like to put a bit to kind of zoom out a bit and see things a bit from the top, and also talking from my own experience. Because for me, one of the big challenges as a digital artist is being always in terms of devices. How do you bring the digital piece to an audience? I hate printing, because me personally, because if you do something digital, you want a space that is digital for people to enjoy that. And the screen for me sometimes was not enough. So I feel like nowadays we're living like a trend where actually new devices and new things are kind of bringing us toward this web 3.0 that you were, Alex, commenting before. And in the 2.0, the 2.0 was connecting people, yeah, with social media and all that. Now the 3.0 is connecting people, spaces, and things. And that is where NFT is having a big point, because actually it's not only about art. NFTs is going to permit to own things on that virtual space that hopefully, if let's say our friend Zuckerberg and company, where they take us, but where actually we're going to be capable of owning and enjoy and interacting with things on the virtual space. So for the last 1-2 years, since for example, with the VR experience and all that, there are spaces where you can start showcasing your digital work. There are projects like Spatial, for example, where you can in 3D create your own gallery. You were talking about my Cyber or that. Exactly, that is still on the web, but there are spaces already on VR where you can get in and you can enjoy digital art the same as creating exhibitions and all that. There, I think, could be spaces for curators. There is also the AR that is permitting that you have a whole exhibition in parallel to ArtBrussels, for example. I was myself trying to do that in the last days, exhibiting things in the space of ArtBrussels in augmented reality. So I think this Web 3.0 is the space where actually NFT is going to start bringing the beauty of it, no? Because it's going to permit the people to enjoy the art and at the same time to experience it as a digital asset.
Yeah, I think what for me is so funny to see is maybe I'm talking just about the art world in Belgium, which I know a little bit. You get invitations sometimes from galleries, and they say they have an online viewing room, an OVR. And the first time I got that a message like that, I thought, wow, they will have some amazing space online where I would be able to see art. Then you go to these OVRs and it's just web pages. There's nothing special. And so for me, there's a lot of opportunities, I think, for galleries and for these NFTs platforms to create spaces where curators can do their thing, and it's not really happening. It's not a lot of platforms have, like, also as an artist, I asked platforms to make it possible that I can do my own creation, that I mint a lot of work, and sometimes I want to put some NFTs together and make kind of an exhibition with it. And most platforms don't give that opportunity. And it's amazing to see that these commercial platforms, they apparently they are not interested in this kind of curation or
but they're just sort of as a purely technical point on what you're saying, is that if you've spent any time developing for the web, it's also a mess. You know, it's like if you if you try to do like I was talking about with somebody earlier about metaverse projects. You know, there's a reason why these projects look terrible is because you can't create a beautiful visual environment that runs in a browser that will work on any computer and any phone today.
But you have VR, you have VR headsets right now. Still, it's very early stages, and well, it's advancing.
Yes.
And hopefully, in some years, people will be able to enjoy not only VR, also AR. And suddenly, here there could be the work of many of artists that are here, floating around us, and we could interact with them.
No, but I think that's a promise of the technology, but the promise hasn't been delivered yet, and everybody is working towards that, and it's kind of like, hopefully or not hopefully where things are going. I just think that the problem in terms of like what we're seeing now with all these like metaverse projects that seem a little bit ridiculous or sort of overhyped is that in a sense they can't really deliver much just because of the technology, not because the people are not doing a lot of work to try to make it happen. But you know, I've done a couple of projects in the browser that were supposed to be like these 3D worlds, and you very quickly realize you have to pare down and pare down and pare down. You know, it's the way that the web is. It's like this jungle of protocols and formats and platforms that have to interwork within each other, and then you add mobile to that, and it's a whole other story.
But I think it's a question of as soon as 5G is there and data is going to transfer much quicker and right now, I mean, just have a look because with VR, I'm having great experiences meeting artists with exhibitions almost every week, where they're really creating in a gallery space where you can see their NFTs and all that and buy them directly from there. And it's not the typical web like on a game, you see. So.
And I just wanted to share that I had 3 different experiences. So I had the Mozilla Hub, which was very hard, but you can do basically whatever you want, and it's a social experience. And I did the On Cyber Gallery, but then it's not a social experience. You cannot meet people. And then I used Arium, which is still in beta test, but that's where I did my solo show, and it was very nice. And I did an event, so people could come in with their avatars, and the camera recognized their face, so they could actually have a talk. And we had 2 hours discussion with two researchers who have been researching my work, and one was in Brazil, the other was in France, and there was a lot of people from, not a lot of people, but people from all over the world, and it was a real, very nice experience. Nobody had the VR set, but we could have used the VR set. I do have mine, but then we don't see my face, so it was nicer to have the. And so there are some, Arium, for example, they have a very nice models that you can use, and you can also change a lot. And they got to make it simple enough that it's light, and you can link directly your NFT to it. So it don't need to, like Mozilla Hub, I had to do some. You know.
But the problem is that the standard that you have to compare things to when it comes to these worlds is gaming, right? And you look at the game worlds, and I mean those people are doing incredible stuff. Like you see the quality of what's being built, but that level is what people are starting to expect from any online 3D world, right? I mean. Yeah.
But people were quite impressed with it anyway.
Ariums are not really trying to be like a game with the same aesthetic. It's quite abstract and it's quite stylized. And I went on a party on Arium, the BCA one, and it was very interesting. And it works very well because you have sound localization. So when you are close to people, it gets louder, or if they're on your right, and it really creates something. It really adds a lot to have this sound localization, even on your computer without the thing. But otherwise, it's not realistic at all. I mean, they're not attempting to be realistic. And it works very well, so, because it's quite fluid.
It's nice that the experience felt real. I mean, and you could have an appreciation of the art. So that's for me that's the most important thing, that you could have an experience of the art that is different from entering the marketplace, for example, or sharing on Twitter. I think it was much nicer. And from all these three that I tried, it was the easiest one, quite easy to work with, and light, and it's a social experience. But it's not like getting a plot on crypto voxels, for example. That's something else still. But I think it was a very, very nice experience. And I see a very good artist in Tezos. What's his name? Greco? He made an amazing virtual exhibition, really. But then he had a person to design it. So he really had a budget and a person to design it. Then he made a very amazing exhibition that looks a bit more like what you said, more like a game. But yeah.
I think we're going to be coming close to wrapping, so if there's any other topics. Yeah?
Thanks. Actually, I would like to go back to the question of the audience, because I think it's something that is really complicated right now, and I really would love to hear about the artists who are succeeding in there, and if they can share with us how they are doing and managing these communities, because I think community engineering and this marketing thing, actually, because it's marketing, is really one of the biggest myths of this universe and this field, because actually one of the main, in the NFT project that we can see, the NFT projects that are succeeding are effectively those who can have the most vivid community into the Discord or Twitter's related channels. But also, we can also see that a lot of the flippings projects are just only depending on the influencers who are just curating the things, but curating under false reason, mainly on money, because they are being paid to curate to bracket, I mean. So basically, this community thing, it's a question mark for me. So I think it's going back to what you said about the audience. How major audiences are getting to know the project, how they are investing into it, and again, if we go back to the main idea of the blockchain technology, which was decentralization and democratization, I think we can think that communities are one of the main things that are going to be the players for the next things about the art market when it's going to go onto the NFTs and things. So right now, if the artists who are succeeding into it can maybe share things with us, I will be very interested into that, actually.
Yeah. First of all, I don't do Discord. It's too complicated for me. I'm Twitter only. And the way I build relationships or conversations is just by being interested in what other people do. And that's basically it. It's just by reacting to what people make and saying that not only that I like it and it's fantastic and awesome and whatever, but just explaining why I like it and try to do it's Twitter, so you don't have not much characters to explain what you see, but I really try to express in a few sentences why I like something that I see. And from that, people appreciate that, especially artists, but also other people. And that's the only thing I do to build a community. Discord is for me too complicated. It's too noisy. I can't live in Discord. It's maybe it will come, but I tried several times to live in there, but it's not for me. And yeah, that's the only thing I do. Try to express my appreciation in sentences and try to speak to people like you do in the real world. It's the same thing.
So those people you're referring to, those are also artists.
Yeah, that's of course the thing that I see, and that's a bit worrying me for the moment. It's a lot of artists talking to each other or other people that have a certain interest in the art world, and let's say normal people or people that are not artists, are not curators, are just people that might be interested in the art, they are absent. And I think if they don't come, for me it's a problem.
There's also a part of the space also kind of reinforces that you get invited into Discords or you're part of a community by buying. And yeah, what I'm really looking for is how to be an audience member without buying. I'm not saying that I would never buy, like I think that's nice if people buy, but
it should not be necessary.
Exactly, you can appreciate
it's
art
like going to a museum. You can just appreciate the art and you can talk to your friends. I saw a nice painting, blah, blah, blah. That should be possible also in the NFT world. And for the moment, I don't see many simple audience that just comes around and see it. Sometimes I explain it to people that know that I'm into NFTs and they ask, oh yeah, I need to have a wallet to see that. And I say, no, you can just go online and you can see the art simply. You don't have to have a wallet to participate in a way. But yeah, it's a problem, I think. I would love to see more.
Yeah, as an audience member, for example, I went also to the show in Amsterdam last weekend. Like for me, that's really still the way to try to experience it. Also because then it is curated and you don't have to like have this wave of this endless feed, literally, of content that you have to kind of deal with. That's a very demanding way of presenting art, I think. And not, if you're not professionally in that space, that's I think also alienating people, which I hope there's going to be different ways of engaging the audience. I don't know, is this, what time is it?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. That was the...
Thank you for coming, and this is the conclusion of our speaker series. So let's go and have a drink.